Back in the before times, WWE still had executive directors, with Paul Heyman heading up Raw and Eric Bischoff booking SmackDown. Neither of them lasted very long, of course, being unceremoniously released ahead of various quarterly shareholder meetings, most likely as a scapegoat for falling ratings whom Vince McMahon could point to in front of investors and go, "It's all his fault, not me." But apparently Heyman wasn't always the first choice to head up Raw. According to Sean Ross of Fightful Select, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were offered the job of Raw Executive Director before Heyman, but both declined. For those that wondered why Shane McMahon, Triple H or Stephanie weren't put in that role, we're told that Stephanie McMahon didn't want that spot as she was happy in the one she has. Most people on Raw assumed upon Heyman's promotion and Bischoff's hiring that if Triple H wanted the role, he'd have it. It's probably for the McMahon family's best, as having to then fire your daughter or her husband because of your mistakes could make things awkward at home. It was reported earlier this week that WWE are under investigation for 3 of their locations being COVID hotspots: Full Sail, the Performance Center, and the Amway Center, where they're hosting the Thunderdome. This comes after an outbreak back in June, which led to a reported 35 to 50 positive cases, and another outbreak in NXT last month. This led to WWE releasing a statement surrounding their COVID testing protocols, saying that they had administered more than 10,000 PCR tests to WWE performers, employees, production staff and crew, resulting in only 1.5% positive cases as compared to the current national average of more than 5%. Wrestling Observer's Brian Alvarez has calculated that works out at 150 positive cases. Depressing quick maths, which is far beyond the reported number, and I know for sure that there have been individuals that tested positive and people that they lived with or their families, they ended up getting coronavirus, and that would not even be counted in WWE's testing. That is a crazy number of people that have contracted coronavirus directly as a result from WWE. As part of last week's draft, Elias was traded to Raw to directly enter a feud with Jeff Hardy as revenge for not being run over by him earlier this year. That doesn't make any sense. Quick, play your generic new music to distract from the logic holes. But this may just be a Hardy-sized stepping stone for Elias, as Gary Cassidy of Inside the Ropes is reporting he will become a staple of Raw going forward on one of the show's top stars. WWE management apparently believe Elias can fill any time allocation and deliver an entertaining performance, and that he is on the cusp of climbing into the main event scene. Take this with a pinch of salt though, as Raw star in line for push reports tend to be "Lollocopter, just kidding, we're going to bury them in 3 weeks' time." But AEW can now declare they do musical segments better after Chris Jericho and MJF sang an entire Rat Pack song on last night's Dynamite, which I'm going to review in about 5 minutes. But first, have a subscribe party! Give us a subscribe, comment, and thumbs up, and enable notifications to always on, because we've got Hell in a Cell live reactions with Chopper Pete dressed up as Nikki Bella this Sunday. Do the All Authority proud, Chopper! Thanks for your support on Patreon, Disco, Ryan Stewart. In an absolutely stacked, I own that gimmick now based off my new reading of Chopper's All Authority contract, the entire first round of the number 1 contenders tournament took place. AEW sees you G1 Climax and raises you, Wardlow throwing Jungle Boy around the ring for 8 minutes, and then Jungle Boy throwing himself around for the other 2. This was a great big versus small man match, which Wardlow ended up handily winning with 2 F10s, F20 quick maths. I thought they'd give Jungle Boy more, but AEW obviously have just as big plans for Wardlow in the future. As JR said after the win, big athletic men sell tickets. We got a recap of Eddie Kingston's great promo after last week's episode went off air, where he said Moxley once promised him that inmates were going to run the asylum, but then he sold out and got a fancy girlfriend, which Mox answered in his own video package by saying he loves Eddie, but Kingston's own bitterness has warped him. So when he makes him say, "I quit," he'll have nobody else to blame but himself. And then Eddie agreed in a later promo, saying he hates what he's become too, but Mox made him this way. This is how you sell an I Quit match stipulation. Even overly dramatic shots of Eddie in the shower. How do you set that one up? How do you get the cameraman to do that? Didn't detract from the seriousness. Kenny Omega got a massively long ring introduction of all his achievements and then came out while two bikini-wearing women danced and swept with brooms. Enter your own dad's misogynistic joke here. And then Omega walked down, hit a V-trigger and a one-winged angel to beat Sonny Kiss in seconds. If the women literally cleaning the stage during his entrance weren't enough to convince you, this is the cleaner. He's back. It took a year of emo Kenny, but we're finally getting the AEW version of his beloved New Japan gimmick. And because Omega is a true artiste, he's not simply rehashing what worked before, he's evolved the character, making him come across as the delusional heel thinking he's the babyface. He hugged Sonny afterwards like they'd just had an epic 20-minute match. He's an inverted Cody Rhodes. Orange Cassidy had a low-effort promo with Tony Schiavone, and then Dasha asked Cody and Arn about Cassidy's TNT title lumberjack rematch next week and Cody's weight gain. Dasha, come on, we've all gained a few pounds during lockdown. Which Cody said he was excited to become heavyweight again. And my favourite of the tournament matches, because it always should be Pentagon, we got the kayfabe and legit inter-family match between real-life brothers Penta L0M/B Part 9 and Rey Fenix. They shook hands to establish a respectful tone and then wrestled an incredible match at lightning speed. Reversals, roll-ups, rope flips, super kicks, chop exchanges, literal rope runs, and of course, all the lucha. Phoenix appeared to knock himself out of a hurricanrana, but the storytelling was so good, I think this might just have been part of the narrative, getting over how Penta was now more concerned about his little brother instead of a title shot. It was that hesitation that let Phoenix win with a surprise Canadian destroyer. In the final first round match, Colt Cabana took on Hangman Page in a lovely clash of styles, pitting Hangman's cowboy S-word against Cabana's technical escapology. But in desperation, Colt showed another side to his character, throwing himself off the apron with a reckless splash. Page won with the buckshot lariat, and the Dark Order showed their sensitive side, helping Cabana to the back. Sammy Guevara burnt a picture of Matt Hardy ahead of their Elite Deletion match at Full Gear. Please nobody die. Team Taz are still waiting on Will Hobbs to respond to their offer, and Ricky Starks said it should be him getting the TNT title match at Full Gear, not that face paint bitch Darby Allin, which I kind of agree with, after Darby stupidly threw himself off a half pipe in a body bag with Jackass's Steve-O later on. Somehow, in an episode that had the return of the Cleaner and a Phoenix vs Pentagon match, my favourite segment turned out to be Chris Jericho and MJF's Debonair Dinner. After getting in an Always Sunny in Philadelphia-like conflict over who could order the rarest steak, the two bonded over both hating Orange Cassidy, which broke into a full 5-minute musical number of the Rat Pack's Me and My Shadow, with the lyrics tweaked to trash various AEW babyfaces. This was full-on Saturday Night Live Jericho zaniness, with the curtains behind them opening to reveal dancing girls, the original track's reprise, and even studio applause to end it. And then, after all that silliness, they sit down for the sketch's masterfully structured punchline, their inedible uncooked steaks. This was everything I didn't know I wanted, and has already got to be one of my favourite wrestling segments of the year, which went straight into AEW's Token Women's Match segment buried in the second hour. Britt Baker showed her vicious side, making Killing King tap in the lockjaw in about 3 minutes, but remember to sign up to Heels, female wrestling fans, because AEW is definitely in a position to talk about giving women's wrestling the respect and the attention it deserves. And the main event was a 4-way tag match to decide FTR's #1 contenders between the Young Bucks, Dark Order, Private Party, and the Butcher and the Blade. While the action was fast-paced, and the Bucks having to just break up other teams' pins in time was a decent story, them winning was never properly in doubt. They slapped FTR's beers out of their hands afterwards, and were attacked by a masked man with a chair, who then hit a spike pile driver, who was rather impressively not a prime of his life 30-year-old wrestler, but the very in-shape 66-year-old Tully Blanchard. FTR then Pillmanized Matt Jackson's leg, which gave the feud some decent heat, but the dream match build we're currently getting isn't meeting the admittedly very high expectations from all these fantasy booking years. What did you think of AEW Dynamite? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people from out of my own musical number. Check out. Yes, the tag division has gone off the boil slightly, and the women's division is still an afterthought, but I loved this episode. Phoenix versus Pentagon, the return of the Cleaner, and the MJF Jericho dinner will stay in my wrestling fan mind forever. Stanley Kubrick used to say great films need to have 3 iconic moments. So by that reasoning, this week's episode, in my humble opinion, is 5 out of 5. A top wrestler has been released and more could be on their way. Find out who's amongst the hottest free agents in wrestling right now by clicking the video on the right, and watch Wrestling Daily cover the Bayley vs Sasha Banks plans by clicking the video below that. If you want more videos like this, press that subscribe button. I've been Mr. Davis. Jam that jam.